welcome back to the Overheard Podcast, recorded live in Banff. My name is Daniel Rule, and with me always is my co-host,
Matty Rage. Let's go.
Let's go. If it's your first time joining us, please don't forget to give us a little like and subscribe. We're up here at the Banff Center Mountain Film and Book Festival talking to a very special guest today. Please welcome to the show, Paul Zizka.
Thanks so much for having me. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. It's a beautiful day here in Banff. How's your day going so far?
Oh, so good. I just went out for a walk by the Bow River.
Nice.
And was reminded of, this is why we're here. Bluebird Day in the mountains, fresh dusting of snow is just magical out there. A little film of ice on the river.
Oh, yeah.
Reminders everywhere that winter's coming. Yeah, it's been a good start to the day.
Absolutely. I think it was our coldest start to the day so far. Mine is 10 this morning.
Bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah,
I had a pretty good sleep in, so I missed that part.
Very, very warm sun. Well, if it's your first time joining us, like I said, please don't forget to give us a little like and subscribe. If you have been living under a rock and you don't know who Paul is, local photography legend Paul Zizka is based right here in Banff, an award-winning landscape and adventure photographer, mountaineer, and fellow of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society. His work has appeared in National Geographic, Outside Magazine, Canadian Geographic, and the Wall Street Journal. He's collaborated with brands like Canon, Apple, Arc'teryx, Mech, just to name a few. Paul's known for chasing light to the farthest corners of the planet, from the peaks of the Rockies to the ice of Greenland, capturing the wild beauty of places most of us will never see. He's also the author of 8 books, including The Canadian Rockies Rediscovered, and co-founder of Offbeat, a creative community helping photographers connect with their craft and the outdoors. Please welcome one of the most recognizable visual storytellers of the Bow Valley and beyond. Thanks again for joining us. I thought we'd start with, you've been a part of the Banff Center Mountain Film Book Festival for many years now. What makes this festival particularly stand out from others that you've attended around the world?
Frankly, I haven't traveled to attend a lot of other festivals. I mean, I've spoken at a few of them, presented at a few of them. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a huge history of festivals for comparison. But, I mean, one thing that makes it so special is I can just walk up the hill and I'm there.
No doubt.
And so, the proximity is so great. I feel like half the planet is coming to our backyard for those 9 days to share stories, and we barely have to lift the finger to be part of it, which is pretty special. Not many people can claim that. Also love, just like I'm looking out there this morning, this setting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have adventure / mountain or film festivals that can also be great, but they're held, say, in the heart of a big city somewhere.
Yeah, not the same feel.
Different feeling than having that just epic backdrop every direction that you look. So I think that makes it extra special as well.
For sure. When we started this project, one of the things that we quickly realized is that tons of amazing people will be coming to us during this festival.
Yeah.
So what a perfect opportunity to get together and talk about what we love, which is environment, of course, the nature, the outdoors, Banff itself, and this festival being the highlight for film and books relating to all outdoor sports. So if you haven't been up here, definitely get into it. Mm-hmm. The 50th anniversary theme is Fire and Ice, the stories we tell. How does that resonate with you as someone who captures both extremes kind of in the mountain landscape?
It resonates very strongly with me. Mm-hmm. I've always had an affinity for cold places, subjects like snow and ice and glaciers. I spend a considerable amount of time every year in those cold environments or at the high latitudes. They're environments that really just inspire me a lot. So I was thrilled to see that theme emerge for this year. And as well as, the other end of the spectrum, for sure, what's happened next door in Jasper. Of course, it's very timely. And all the people impacted by that, and how overnight that became the talk of town in Banff here too. And so I think this is all. It makes a lot of sense to have it as a theme for this year. It's all very timely, and it resonated very, very strongly with me.
For sure, I think breaching those environmental issues through the artistic scope is amazing. What a great way to get the word out to more people about the things that truly matter. You mentioned your affinity for ice and for cold weather. There's a term for that as well, right? You explore that a little bit on your website. A cryophile. Would you consider yourself a cryophile?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've always been very interested in those environments, even outside of photography. I've always found glaciers fascinating. I'm just walking down by the Bow River this morning. Like I said, there was that little film of ice on it. I was excited to see some lake ice. Finally, it's been a bit of a later start to the season.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I just feel that, 5-year-old emerge in me. I just feel that excitement to just lace them up and go skating and just try to make the most of winter. I'm definitely a cryophile. Absolutely.
I'm so happy you brought that up because it's a feeling that I get every single year as the seasons turn into winter when I go snowboarding for the first time, which for me, thankfully, was yesterday morning.
Oh,
nice.
Cut a couple laps in there, which was great.
Yep.
I can't believe at my age, I still feel like a grown man playing in the snow. You know what I mean? And that's something that
you get giddy like that first little snowfall. You're like, oh,
For
boys,
sure.
we're getting close to snowboard season. Let's go.
It's so true, and I think it's pretty special to live in a place where a lot of people share that childlike enthusiasm for winter, as opposed to, I grew up in a place where I feel like the vast majority of people were more like dreading it, and got a little grumpy when the first snowflakes would fly and the first ice would form, right? And I feel like, wow, how refreshing to be in a place where people are just actually fired up about it.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
I think the people that dread winter, especially in the Bow Valley, are a minority compared to any other city,
like
right?
back
I just stopped at a coffee shop this morning, and you're overhearing conversations about, first snow, first ice. What do people exchanging what their plans are, and it's great. It's contagious.
Where'd you get your pass? What are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I got to tip my hat because you're always on the leading edge of the wild ice as it emerges, like getting those shots. I forget who you teamed up with. Do you team up with the same skater every year?
A few of them, mostly with Elage, though. Yeah.
Cool. That's wild.
So it's there's a growing community of wild ice enthusiasts, and we've found each other one way or another. And there's a lot of us who've been just waiting for that first ice for a while now. So it's super exciting.
What would be some of your tips for someone who's maybe chasing wild ice for the first time?
I would say play it safe, be conservative for sure. A lot of the best ice often happens early season, which means it's going to be a little on the thinner side, which means it hasn't been tested by the weight of hundreds of people. And so if you don't know much about ice, go with people who can show you the ropes or take a course for sure, and be extra conservative. Wait those extra few days, so that also it just makes for a more enjoyable experience when you don't feel like
you're gonna go through it any moment.
Exactly, right? So just wait it out, be conservative, so that you can just have a nice, long, safe season out there.
Absolutely. I don't think that's anything we would want to experience. I've even seen some extreme examples of people online chasing wild ice where they have harnesses and they're strapped into trees or rocks that are on the shore so they can pull themselves out. A little extreme for my taste, but kind of makes me think of a couple years back. We had some very cold, maybe it's 2 or 3 years ago. We had a very cold start to the winter, no snow. So the entirety of Lake Louise was frozen, and you can skate it from the chateau all the way to the end. And that for me was a magical experience.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. That nothing compares to that when you have that surreal turquoise under your skates.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of ice on Lake Louise for the first time this morning.
Oh, really?
I just keep an eye on the webcams this time of year.
Yeah.
Smart way to do it, for sure.
Yeah.
What roles do you think festivals like this one play in shaping how we see and care for the natural world?
Oh, a huge role. I recall my first experience with a festival was I'm from Quebec originally, so I recall just living in Quebec City and going to the World Tour event. Some friends just told me about it. Come out, you'll see if you like it. We think you're gonna like it. So I just went out and watched a few films, and I didn't do much in the outdoors at that time. And I would say I think it's fair to say that sparked at least an interest in the outdoor environment, in the wilderness. And then once that spark is there, once you have interest in it, then you want to get to know it better. And eventually you get to a level where you know it enough and you like those environments enough that you start caring about them. And so I think just through the festival, the world tour, all of the people who just come here from all over the world and then go home extra inspired, I think festivals like this do a tremendous job at just getting people to care and be curious about wild places.
Fair enough.
Well, absolutely. I mean, whether you're a climber, a skier, a mountaineer, alpinist, trail runner, we've seen a variety of different films presented at the festival.
Yep.
The common place is we all love the outdoors and we love being in that outdoor environment, right? So there's something powerful to being surrounded by people that all have that passion, you know?
For sure.
That's a
And
great thing to see.
you have a lot of people, and I used to be more tentative about the outdoors because it's a bit daunting, especially the mountain environment. But when you see people out there getting after it, sometimes it's just that little nudge that you need to actually carve out the time, call up some friends and go out on an adventure.
Absolutely. I found myself seeing a couple of films and thinking, what kind of objectives do I want to plan for this winter now? Because seeing that it's possible and like these people are accomplishing feats that some may never even dream possible. You're like, man, what can I do in my backyard?
Yeah, and adventure means different things to different people, right? We're often bombarded by just films that are about like the cutting edge of the sport, right? But I think it's important to remind ourselves during festivals like this that, adventure means different things to different people, and you don't have to do something that's high adrenaline or that is high risk to add a bit of adventure to your life. So I like the festival for that. It's good, provides a good reminder.
That's a great point, honestly. An adventure for some might be just taking the Ken Madsen path up to Banff Center to see some films, right?
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think of a conversation we were having a long time ago on our show of when a walk becomes a hike.
Oh, right. Who was that with?
Yeah.
Was that with Parks?
I forget. We asked a couple different people. So it's like, how do you define a hike versus a walk? Is it the elevation or is it like, do you need to bring snacks? Like it's just a very interesting point of what consists of adventure. For some might be small, for some might be,
Yeah, for the local visitor, like the average visitor might be just going down to the Bow Falls for a quick little stroll. And
For sure.
Some of us, it's like, I'm going to go do Rundle this morning and see what's up. But
Yeah.
it's crazy. Pretty big spectrum when it comes to what you can get up to out here in the mountains, right?
And there's really something for everyone. It's not like you have to be at a cutting edge to experience that feeling of adventure out there and to go and enjoy the mountains. For a lot of people, just a simple walk
I would agree.
will just suffice, right?
For sure. I think the biggest thing is just get outside.
Exactly.
Like the mental health benefits of getting out away from the screens and out into some sunlight.
True.
It's amazing how good it is for the soul, right?
For sure. Is there a particular film or talk or moment that you're particularly looking forward to at this festival this year?
There is. I was actually not supposed to be here for the festival this year. I was supposed to fly to Madagascar yesterday.
Wow!
And then
amazing.
they had a coup, and so they had political unrest, and so fairly suddenly I ended up being available for the festival. So I kind of rushed into browsing through, the programming a little bit more than I normally would. There's a few things that I'm excited about, but one thing I got to do that was a highlight for me, that will be a clear highlight for me, was I got to do an artist talk alongside a Swiss photographer, Jean-François Delhomme, who's just a wonderful guy and who shares my affinity for cold places, but he's based out of Switzerland, and it was just amazing to be able to spend an hour alongside him to talk about ice and to just look at his corner of the world, the glaciers that they have over there, and to take in his vision as well. So that was a clear highlight for me. He's a super talented guy, very, very humble, and obviously very passionate. So that was great. So my festival was made at that point. So whatever happens from this point,
all icing.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Amazing.
Well, you've spent years in the Bow Valley, like photographing anything, everything. What keeps you rooted here creatively?
It's one of the most dynamic environments on Earth, I think, just in terms of ever-changing light and weather. Even the landscapes are changing. We talk a lot about the glaciers vanishing, melting quickly. So it's a place that constantly renews itself, right? And I given the choice, I'll always go and photograph and document a place I've never seen before, because that's that need to just there's that curiosity that I like to, that sort of drives what I do. So given the choice, I'll go up a valley that I've never ventured into before. But even if you just said all you can shoot for the rest of your life is the Vermilion Lakes and Two Jack, I'd still be totally okay with that, because I've seen those places change so much from one moment to the next, and I know they're never the same. So I think that the dynamic character of the mountains means you're offered a fresh new canvas every morning, every night when you go out there. That keeps things really exciting creatively. I might be maybe an exception, but I've never felt like uninspired in the mountains for a long period of time. Yeah, I just revisit locations I'm familiar with, always see something new.
That's like they always say, if you don't like the weather in Banff, wait 10 minutes. It'll change.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Does your artistic approach change whether you're, say, exploring a new place for the first time or going back to Two Jack or Vermilion where you've been before?
It will, because usually exploring a new place means putting in a little bit more physical work, getting that. I've been here for long enough. I've done a lot. I've seen a lot of the sort of roadside areas. So usually documenting a new place will mean committing more effort and more time.
Absolutely.
And that means that if you don't have the luxury to just drive up the next day and check it out again, that does change your approach, where I think you work with you're a bit more deliberate about what you do. You try to make it count. If you're 2-3 days from the road to shoot a lake or a valley, you're going to try to just. I find that it's easier to just get in the zone and really try to do the best work that you can. Whereas it's easier to cut corners, I guess, if you're shooting roadside and you can just casually just drive back up to that spot the next day.
That's a very fair point. It's like maybe a bit more urgency or a bit more attention to gathering the moment,
Well, even just like walking back to the car, like you forget a battery or an SD card, you got to walk back to the car.
Sure.
It's like, if you're 3 days out from the car, that's not going to happen. You're pretty much working with what you got, right? So,
you're right. You have to be a bit more diligent. I usually do a fair bit more research around those locations because I have limited time in there, and also I think it changes your approach because you're going to have to make the most of whatever Mother Nature throws at you, right? If I want to shoot Peto Lake with open water and snow-covered trees around it, well, I can just wait at home for the right day.
Right.
And boom, it's happening. We got snowfall, hasn't been that cold, and I go get it. Whereas if you go shoot a valley that's 3 days from the road, then whatever Mother Nature throws at you, you're going to have to make the most of. You don't have the luxury to wait it out for a few days and wait for that side light to come out, for the rain to stop. And so creatively, I think that makes you a more adaptable photographer because you can't be picky. You have to make it work no matter what's thrown at you.
Good point.
Great point. You mentioned also what part of what keeps you here is the mountains being ever changing. One thing that brought to my mind was the incident at Bow Falls earlier this year and how tragic it was, but still a reminder of things are moving and changing here constantly. I'm wondering how it looks up there. Since have you been up there since? I don't think it's been closed, right?
I've only driven past and looked at that scar from far away. But that was definitely what a tragedy, what a shock to so many of us locals who sometimes
for sure
get not complacent, but it's easy. You look at those giant, mountains, and you feel like they've looked that way forever, and they're always going to look that way. But also we walk by those boulders, and they got there somehow, right?
True.
So those processes are happening on geological timescales, and occasionally they'll occur
Yeah.
You know, while people are there, I spent tons of time at Bow Lake. That's where I fell in love with photography and climbing, and I used to live there and work there.
Amazing.
At the lodge, and so I've spent so many hours
Yeah.
below those falls looking up, right? So I think it hit a lot of us quite hard. I didn't know any of the people involved personally, but it was still just still a reminder that those places are just constantly evolving.
For sure. I think the element of safety and the reminder of, wow, sometimes the more time you spend in the mountains, you can get that feeling of safety.
Yeah.
Tragic, but wild that they are still, the forces that we experience out there are like none other.
For sure. They're slowly going back down to sea level.
Yeah.
Right? It's just going to happen over millions of years, but it's got to happen, you know, every day. Those little things happen out there where nobody witnesses them, and occasionally, unfortunately, people do.
Very true, very true. So you spent a long time in the Bow Valley. How has your artistic style evolved since your early days of shooting here?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like my style's evolved based on what I like to shoot has changed over the years. Like I started out just being fully content with what I could see. We've talked about it already, what I could see from the road, right?
Right.
You could spend 10 lifetimes just shooting from the vehicle in Banff National Park
for sure.
and still just find things to shoot. And that kept me very busy when I first started. And eventually I got into more like adventure photography, I would say, just
Cool.
in the sense that I would carry the camera further and further away from the vehicle on trips that were more and more sort of involved technically, and that really changed my approach in the way that we already discussed. Where if you put in physical work to get yourself in a certain spot, a certain position, I think you're going to be a lot more intentional about the decisions that you make that go into making a photo, right? Because you've put in the work to get there. You'll probably never go back to that same, certainly not in the same conditions.
Yeah.
And so that's changed my style quite a bit. I think it's important to try to innovate, I think, in photography. So I started out shooting images that now when I look back at them, some of them stand the test of time, but a lot of them I think are more like, I want to say, classic sort of landscape imagery. And eventually once you've shot that for 4 or 5 years, you realize creatively they don't do a whole lot for you anymore because you're kind of microwaving the same ideas, and you get a bit robotic about it, and that can take the creativity. You can create images that are technically sound, but that don't involve a lot of that part of your brain that where the creativity is. So you need to kind of renew yourself to just keep the fun in it. So then it's nice to start experimenting with. Then I started, sort of getting out at night or getting out with people or self-portraits or just trying different styles just to keep things interesting.
Where do you think it like you just kind of touched on it, but where do you think an image stops being just an image and really evokes a feeling? Like what are the elements that bring that out for you personally?
Yeah, I guess there's two ways to answer that. If I'm looking at my own images and I'm very close to the experience, of course I know the behind the scenes and all that. But if I look at other people's work, I would say it's such a combination. It's a combination of things, and I think it's an exercise I love putting myself through as a photographer, because we do a lot of, when we look at photography now, it's through just a lot of scrolling. We don't spend a lot of time on average looking at a given image, right? So I try to spend more and more time whenever I find something arresting, taking the time to deconstruct it and think about, okay, why is it that this image really grabbed me? And sometimes it's just the subject. Sometimes it's the light. Oftentimes for me as a fellow photographer, it's the composition. I look at the image in terms of like mathematically and deconstruct it, and I like the way that the geometry makes it work.
Okay, cool.
Sometimes it's the how much it doesn't say, in the sense that like sometimes images are purposely leave room for interpretation. I like images like that sometimes. So there's lots of ways, I think, through photography that you can stir up emotion in people, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. Sometimes you'll build an image around light. Sometimes you'll build it around composition. Sometimes it's about the interplay of the weather and the subject. There's lots of different ways, lots of different styles, and I think that the fact that there's no one route to follow really just allows lots of people to
photography. Sorry to cut you off there. Like photography has definitely changed over the years, with everyone being a photographer now, amateurly at least, taking pictures with their phones, right?
Yeah.
But there's something about your images that, obviously the quality, but the composition, like you mentioned, the geometry is something I didn't even think of, but there's a feeling there that's just like undescribable that you can't capture with.
Well, even with everybody just scrolling, like Paul mentioned, like everybody's scrolling. I remember like way back in 2010 when I was in graphic design back in Ontario, one of my professors straight up, he said, you've got 1 to 3 seconds to catch the reader or viewer's attention.
Right.
If you don't do it in that 3 seconds, boom, they're already scrolled past it. So it's like, it's not like it was, you go to the gallery, you check stuff out. Like very few people these days, I feel, have access to like physical media, whether it's like, look what we do, you know what I mean? Like we're all digital these days. It's easy to just go on a website and scroll, but you don't really get it doesn't really convey that emotion of standing in front of a large print and actually getting the chance to like kind of sit there and deconstruct it, right? So
I totally agree. Yeah.
One of the conversations we've been having a lot, especially with Banff locals lately, has been around conservation and the economy, of course, right, of Banff. Obviously, always a big dichotomy here, tourism and conservation. How do you see the balance between those two kind of play out in our day-to-day?
Yeah, that's a question that I've given a lot of thought, of course, as many of us locals have over the last few years. It's such a complex equation.
For sure.
You try to factor in, the fact that people have to make a living, and we've got the wildlife component, we've got the highway just shooting straight through a national park. But there's so many factors to consider, and it's the tough one. I feel like we need the pendulum to swing back towards conservation. Personally, I feel like we've overdone it a little bit in terms of the visitation, and so and I think that just from a photographer standpoint, also what you mentioned, the fact that I think photography's played a large role in that, because
for sure
a lot of people a lot of people want to document with the phone, oftentimes. Where they went and so the impact of photography on Banff National Park, I think, has been massive,
profound,
especially in conjunction with the rise of social media.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible how much of an impact photography has had.
Just everyone chasing that little Instagram shot. You see it and you want to get out there. Like everybody wants to go to Moraine, get the shot from the rock pile. And it's just like...
I had a family member visit, and a younger family member from a little bit of a younger generation, and it seemed like that's all they wanted to do, was to go to different locations and take these iconic pictures, which I thought was... It's a bit wild. But it seems that like tourism has kind of changed in that sense. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And it's hard to get people away from those locations, even though there's so much more to the park than Moraine Lake and Lake Louise.
Yeah.
It's sort of... it's challenging, even as a guy who just runs photo events. A lot of people, they if they don't see Moraine Lake or Lake Louise on the itinerary, they'll be like, does this guy know what he's doing?
Oh, wow.
Well, it was like one of our past guests said, like, if you're coming to Banff to walk down Banff Ave and have a burger and go home, like, you're kind of missing the point. You know what I mean? Like, again, to each their own. Like everybody's got their own definition of adventure, and like go to the national park, but there's so much more out here, right? Like it's just wild. Like, are there any like corners of the park that still just inspire you daily to just dig a little deeper and get in there? And
oh, for sure. I mean, it's always interesting to me how people Banff National Park is known as just. You often hear Banff National Park is just so busy. It's so busy. If you looked at the average square kilometer in Banff National Park, nobody stepped there in like 10 years, right? Like it's I can see what people mean, but at the same time, if you're willing to just explore your curiosity a little bit and make the time, you really have to make the time. You can. It's not really that hard to have a solitary, intimate experience in Banff National Park.
True.
I think part of it is just the way that people travel increasingly is at a rapid rate, and so there's no time to engage with the landscape when you stop at Bow Lake for 5 minutes and you hop in the vehicle again and move on to the next spot. And so I think for me, there's so many corners of Banff. I mean, I've been really focusing on the backcountry the last 5-10 years.
Yeah. Oh, there's no one out there.
There's Lake Louise's everywhere in the backcountry.
Oh, heck,
you know what I mean? And Mount Rundles.
Yeah.
Like there's
For sure.
there's beautiful there's beautiful places that were they located by the roadside, of course they would be overrun, but thankfully because they do require a bit of physical effort and time to get to, you can still enjoy those places in relative solitude. And the people who tend to make it to those places, I like to think are on board when it comes to trying to keep them that way.
For sure. I did bring this up in one of our episodes, and I was like, what if as like a town or as a tourism bureau, we tried to push people more into the backcountry? And this person was like a high backcountry enthusiast, and they're like, maybe we don't want that. Like,
I know. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, there's always the question of, do we want to, I have to say, like, sacrifice 10 roadside spots so that, the other 99% of the park remains somewhat untrodden and more sustainable. So it's a tough one that way. And the people who do love the backcountry are a bit protective, understandably.
100%.
Well, you don't want 1,000 people at a backcountry site leaving garbage and crap all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, it is nice that we have that option where we can just, like, you could even take off from here and walk up Rundle and go to the backcountry site there, and most times, like I've been up there a few times, there might be 4 or 5 people up there, like on a busy day,
and that's like pretty accessible too, as far as the location.
You're only it's only like a 2-mile walk or something.
And that's the thing too. Even if people behave and they don't leave, they use best practices in the backcountry, a few hours away from the road. Bottom line is a lot of us go to the mountains to not be with people.
Right.
We're looking for that solitude, that peaceful experience, and so a lot of people want to keep the backcountry a place where you're not going to bump into people every 5 minutes. So it's tricky, but I think I would just highly encourage people who've just feel like they're feeling comfortable exploring the front country. I would highly encourage people to just make 4 or 5 days, set 4 or 5 days aside, go in the backcountry. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's absolutely magical, and it's still very much possible to experience that in Banff Park. But you really have to commit the time and put in the work.
Well, I'm kind of on that. I'm at that point myself. So like I've just been I got sober a few years ago, got back into like hiking and doing kind of more mountaineering, more backcountry type stuff. Got back into camping because it's something that I always kind of linked to alcohol, which now I love sober camping, so much fun.
Yeah.
But like that next frontier is backcountry camping. I've never done it, but I'm super interested. What would be kind of your first tip to someone who's never done it before?
I would say just ease into it in the sense like maybe don't go into locations that see 1 or 2 parties a year. You know, go to the places that are more sort of organized, more better documented, that see a bit more visitation. You know, Skokie, Assiniboine, those types of places, and then eventually you'll probably want to move on to the next step and just go to a place that eventually 10 years down the road, you purposely try to go places that probably nobody has walked into in a very long time, because you're just, you become, you're really in, you can't do without that kind of solitary, intimate mountain experience, right? But I would say, yeah, there's lots of ways, there's lots of great areas where you can really ease into it.
Right.
They tend to be places that you need to plan ahead a little bit more because of the camping situation.
Yep.
But yeah, they're just absolutely beautiful places. And then eventually you want to see what's just
a
the
little bit
next
further,
valley
yeah.
over and the next valley
Yeah.
over, until you're in a place where you can walk 5-6 days without seeing another human being.
I think that one of the main concerns that lies in people that want to explore the backcountry, not mine personally, but is encounters with wildlife. Have you
Yeah.
ever had any kind of close encounters with wildlife?
I never have. No, I mean, I've seen bears up close, but I've never had bears display aggressive behavior towards me. So I feel like I can see why people are concerned.
For sure. It's a common question I get at the restaurant all the time. Like, because I hike hundreds of kilometers a summer.
Yeah.
People go, like, how many bears do you see? And it's like,
Yeah.
honestly, not a lot.
Well,
Like,
that's the
very
thing.
little. They
I
know where
think
we're at. Like,
statistically, sadly, I mean, I don't want to say it's not a valid concern, because you can still, get hurt by a bear, and the
For
bears
sure.
can. But at the same time, if you look at it statistically, I feel like it's been perhaps a little bit exaggerated. Partly because of the consequences. It's sort of like
Well,
plane
yeah.
crashes, or or I guess it's it's also what's been put in front of us over the years. I understand where people come from, because I watched Jaws when I was little, and then I went to the ocean, and I'm like, you sure I can go in there? And of course the locals say the same thing. Yeah, statistically you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
So I can see why people. But at the same time, there's other hazards that we should watch out for, that are maybe underrepresented because the bears get so much press, right?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
such as?
well, such as just even exposure to weather,
Yeah.
avalanche.
Yeah, yeah.
Avalanche. Of course, there's been way more education lately,
Right.
so that's been great. But I remember not too long ago, you'd have people who were all worried about bears, and then would just sit and have a picnic in an avalanche path for like 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
But they're watching for bears. So I think that's taken some of the attention away from some other hazards
that may be a bit more
to
prevalent.
watch out for. Yeah, just overhead terrain in general.
Yeah,
I
sure
think
enough.
people kind of underestimate when they go out in the mountains, whether it's summer or winter,
Yeah.
things like that.
Absolutely. Something as simple as, say, cross-countrying Moraine Lake Road takes you through numerous avalanche paths that, if you're not aware,
Well, even
Yeah.
like
can be quite consequential.
even just hiking Rundle, like at the top, like you can have some pretty big rocks bouncing down towards you. Like I've been up there before, and somebody's like, "Dude, watch behind." Just you're coming down, and just boom, 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 and like it's only a boulder this big, but if that thing clocks you in the head, like that's a helicopter tour at it, right? So it's there's always like the mountains are wild, man. You got to be careful out there. Like you got to kind of have your head on a swivel a bit, right?
Things can get desperate pretty quickly. You can go from just
Yeah.
state of bliss to desperate conditions pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
For sure.
And I think I think about this time of year, for example, the nights are getting long, chilly.
Yeah.
Even if you're going for something mellow, I think just you don't see a lot of people. I find you don't see a lot of people in a position where they could spend the night comfortably, right? It doesn't take much for
No
you
doubt.
to be stuck having to spend the night
True.
just a few kilometers from the road.
Yeah.
And the nights are, the
yeah.
nights are they're not July nights anymore. It's long and it's chilly this time of year.
Well, that reminds me of a story of a couple locals that I know. Been skiing Lake Louise and like the surrounding backcountry area for years and years and years, and they decided to drop into an area on a day that was maybe a little bit more overcast than most, a little bit less visibility, end up missing their gully, end up in a wrong gully, end up far away from the road. They had to spend the night there.
Right.
Now, thankfully,
Oh, yeah.
these guys are very experienced in backcountry
Right.
and outdoors, so they ended up like making a fire, and turns out they actually had a pretty good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a reminder to everyone out there that when you're having fun and recreating in the mountains, it is a very, very high consequence place.
For sure.
Back to your photography a little bit here, Paul. You've collaborated with huge brands like Apple and Arc'teryx. What would be your advice to young photographers that want to maybe dip into commercial work but still want to stay authentic to their creative vision?
Yeah, it's always a delicate dance, for
Right.
sure. I think when you start, it's tricky because anything that comes your way, you'll just say yes to.
Yeah, fair
Even
enough.
if you have to bend your values and you feel like you're selling out a little bit or it doesn't really align with that.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
It's tricky. And I recall just, at the beginning, I would just say yes to absolutely everything. I think just making a point of just reevaluating where you're at on a regular basis and just trying to put yourself in a position where you can say no to projects that just simply don't align with your values.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's hard because it's a big brand or there's
Yeah.
a good amount of money attached to it. But I feel like if you look at things long term and you want to keep things sustainable, I think it's okay to say no. And I think I feel like that's one thing I should have started doing a little bit earlier, is foregoing gigs that just I knew didn't really jive with the genre or the my voice in general. Yeah.
Well, that might answer one of my later questions, would be what would be your advice to upcoming photographers? And that sounds like that would probably be one of them.
That's one of them for sure. I would say probably try to avoid the whole social media circus if you can. I think a lot of young photographers I found, because I spend time with a lot of them, feel like the name of the game is gathering as fast an audience as you can in as little time as you can, regardless of what you need to shoot to get there.
Right.
And I find that, and I'm very well aware of the outside, the external pressures and why people do that. And it's a battle that I fight constantly, right? People gonna like this, but it's just not sustainable. It's not. It takes the creativity out of it. It takes the fun out of photography. So I would say if you're just starting out, I would say stay away from that. It's a trap.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just create the images that get you fired up, that you see yourself still enjoying creating years down the road. And I think it's more important to have fewer people, but the right people notice what you do,
Right.
as opposed to just chase online stats and numbers
Great advice.
that are also likely to just end up with your body of work 10 years down the road looking like everybody else's body of work.
Right.
Right. So I feel like if for people who, it also comes down to whether or not you want to generate income right out of it. If you don't have to generate income out of your photography, if you're not up and coming photographer, heck, don't just get into that whole side of things. You have the luxury of just creating what you want
Right.
and not having to worry about what people think. If you want to generate income, as tempting as it is to give people what they want nonstop, I would say just try to just stay away from doing that. Try to keep that in check, and just I think all you need to make it work financially, I think, is just a smaller audience of genuinely interested people. And I think that's usually what I recommend when people come to me and they're like driven to just,
Yeah.
they're really just concerned about the likes and the online metrics and all that. Usually I'm sort of, hang on a sec, like just go and create.
Right.
Remind yourself of your initial motivations. Go create images that you're really passionate about, and repeatedly. And after a while, the right people will notice, and that can lead to generating the income that you need to keep things sustainable.
Fair. A little bit of quality over quantity.
That sounds like tough advice to
No
give.
question.
Yeah.
It's tough advice to give,
but great
then,
advice to hear.
Yeah. Then it's everybody knows the recipe that leads to likable images, right?
Yeah,
And
that's no secret.
they've been out there for a long time, and so that's kind of why I think photography has been homogenized. You go on Instagram, and a lot of images look the same. They're built the same way, and so it takes. So there's less and less innovation, I think, happening, more emulation. There's always part of evolving as a photographer where you emulate people because you're learning and you're just like, oh, that's cool. Let me see if I can I achieve that in the field, right? And I've done that. I still do that. If I see something cool that I'll sort of try to recreate it just to figure out how it works, how they achieved a certain effect, a certain feel. But I think the only way to just keep the fun in it is to just go out there and experiment and just, try new things and try to not worry too much about whether or not an audience will eat it up.
That's such good
Fair
advice,
enough.
honestly.
I got stuck in the back. Well, now that would have been like, oh geez, this would have been early 2000s, like when infrared photography was just like blowing up. I was like, go get an IR filter, pop it on there, like 30-second exposures in the middle of the daytime. Like it's fun, and it's like it's always nice to learn new skills, but at the end of the day, it's like.
I think like maybe following those trends and jumping on those bandwagons of especially social media type content might take away from your voice as a photographer. You know, like when you're trying to find your particular style, your particular vision.
Yeah.
So that's probably like more detrimental where people think they're maybe building their vision through their social media use. Might be a little bit more detrimental than they think.
Yeah, and I think in the context of outdoor photography, eventually it just pollutes your experience, right? You have to you're trying to just promote, like that connection with the wilderness and how much good it can do for your soul, and that's what you want to share with people. Yet, if you're always out there thinking about people going to like this, oh, maybe I should do BTS of this, maybe I should do behind the scenes of the behind the scenes, maybe, and you go out there and you've got all those deliverables on your mind, and then you're like, wait a minute, like, there's no way that the clash is obvious, right? That contradiction is obvious. I can't have just a peaceful, mindful, powerful wilderness experience if I'm just all concerned about online metrics and just pumping out content for the sake of pumping out content, right? So I think if you're shooting outdoor photography, you're going to bump into that contradiction sooner or later, and you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fair enough.
When it comes to your work, your self-portraits is one of kind of the piece of your work that stands out to me. I kind of wanted to ask you, what do those moments mean to you personally when you get to capture that? Like, that's got to be quite incredible. Everyone loves a selfie. These are like selfies on steroids, you know?
Yeah, they serve different purposes. Sometimes it's more about the solving a compositional issue, right? I look at the image, and geometrically, it works, but it not 100%, and it needs that little element to just shift the attention of the viewer one way or another.
Right.
And sometimes it's just as simple as that. But sometimes, as you've alluded to, sometimes, if you've got this big aurora display, and I've shot a whole bunch of images that tie in the landscape with the sky, at some point I'm like, this is memorable. I'm going to create a version that just adds the human element, and I don't really care whether it's me or someone else, but I shoot alone a lot. So sometimes just by default, I'm the one. It ends up being a selfie because there's nobody else to say, hey, do you mind going to that spot? All the images are pretty much anonymous, right? It's not about, I don't care if it's me as much as I care about just putting the human element in there in relation to the grand scene, right? So sometimes, and sometimes it's just for scale, right? When you shoot in the mountains, you're trying to convey scale, and
you're right.
And you try different things, and it doesn't work. And sometimes you're, you know what? If I go to this spot in the scene, then maybe they'll help the mountain just showcase how big the mountain or the glacier is. And so it's different reasons that I think just push me to include myself to enter the frame sometimes.
Fair.
Yeah.
Because that juxtaposition of putting the human element, and especially the landscape the landscapes that you've chosen for that particular series is incredible.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
It's like when you come out here, like when everybody comes out here the first time, you're rolling through the mountains, everybody's popping pictures, and it's impossible to convey that scale sometimes like in a photograph to someone that's not been here.
Yeah.
It's like they're way bigger in real life than they look on the lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's really cool that you can use your self-portrait as kind of a scale reference. You know, it's like put a lighter beside your for sale item on Banff Buy and Sell.
Yeah.
Lighter for scale, you know what I mean? It's that's a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
Or the Adult Man's Club banana for scale.
Yeah, banana for scale, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Paul, you've released 8 books, including the Canadian Rockies Rediscovered. What's next for you on the writing side of things? You got any more books coming out, or what's the...
Yeah, there's a few things. There's a few ideas being thrown around. I would really like... I mean, it's been a long time since I've done a book about just local locations. So it's been a while. Like, Rediscovered goes back, I don't know, maybe 7 years now, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And as you said, you know, as a photographer, as a person, you always evolve. You see new places, you witness new great moments out there. And I'm starting to feel like it's been long enough that I've got enough of those moments that I feel compelled to just organize them in a way that is cohesive and in print,
Nice.
ideally, because I love photography in print, and so I feel like it's time for a new. It'll be time soon for a new Rockies book.
Amazing.
I think. Yeah, just to celebrate the beauty of this incredible place we live in.
Is that generally like how long it takes you to put one of these print projects together? Or does it vary from project to project?
It really it varies based on what else I have going on at the
Fair.
time. Yeah.
Wow.
Any upcoming expeditions that you're particularly excited for that you can let us in on?
I'm going to be, so it's the first time in many, many years that I have the bulk of the winter at home. I usually spend a fair bit of time teaching photography abroad, but I'm actually really excited to have the next few months right here at home. I'm going to be working on my sort of ongoing cryophilia project, which involves me just spending a lot of time at our local glaciers. So I'm going to be revisiting a lot of
Very cool.
those old friends and see how they're doing, check on them, and just see what's changed since last year. So I'm going to just, hike into a whole bunch of glaciers. I'm going to focus a lot over the next couple of months on wild ice skating.
Beautiful.
And I've got a few people that I collaborate with, a few different skaters that I enjoy collaborating with that I haven't seen since we lost the ice in the spring. So I'm excited to just rekindle that. Maybe go check out. I want to go and check out and skate on some lakes that I've never skated on. So again, I want to just get away from the front country lakes a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Because I've been fortunate to have just amazing experiences at Lake Louise and some other front country lakes, and I feel like the next logical step is to just go a few hours away from the road.
Yep.
To go just have that backcountry experience, but on ice. So I'm excited to explore that over the next few months. Load up on family time. Our girls are still quite young, and they're into everything, and they're capable at the age that they're at. You know, we can accomplish a lot in a day's time. So probably just explore the mountains with the family as well. Just stay local for the next while.
That sounds like a great plan, honestly. One last one for you here, Paul. When you look back at all your work from icy peaks to aurora skies, what do you hope people feel when they see your images?
Oh, wow. That's such a great question. I really hope that I can play a part in providing a sense of wonder for people and encouraging people to explore their curiosity. So 2 things that are often lost as we grow up, right?
Yeah,
that just
no doubt.
fall by the wayside when life gets busy and their schedules fill up. nobody, who has the time to just explore their curiosity and even their creativity and surrender to their sense of wonder. I really hope that I can make a few grown-ups just carve out some time to, go in the backcountry for 4 or 5 days and marvel at the world away from social media and the devices, and just see how powerful an impact it can have on their lives. Because I know it has on mine. I know if I haven't done that, experienced that for a while, feel that I crave it. I need to carve out the time to do it. So my hope is that, through the photography, the books, the interviews, that I can hopefully just inspire a few people to go out there in the wilderness. And if you spend enough time out there, I think creativity will probably be part of the equation sooner or later, because you'll feel compelled to document it one way or another, whether it's with your phone or a bigger camera setup or through video or through any other form of art. I think there's just such a great opportunity to enhance our lives by being more intimate with the wilderness. And that's where I feel I can play a role.
Well, I think we're in a great location for that. I think it's a pretty common thread out here. Most of us are out here just because the mountains called us, and that's pretty much it. You come out here and you enjoy it, and there's not many people that just loaf around town and don't get outside, you know what I mean? So it's
for sure kind of hard not to be inspired.
Yeah, no doubt.
And for those of you who have discovered those transformative experiences, to do what we can to get those few remaining people who perhaps haven't experienced that, to try to facilitate that for them.
For sure. Definitely. I think you've had a big part in inspiring me to get out there in nature. So
that's great to hear.
I got to tip my hat off to you there. I saw on your social media you're having a print sale coming up for the holidays. Do you want to let people know where they can grab those?
Yeah, for sure. 20% off all the prints.
Nice.
If people have seen images online, everything is available as prints. We print on order. So if anybody has seen anything that stirred up emotion in them, or they feel might stir up emotion in someone else, in a loved one, just reach out to us. Check out the website. Everything's organized in a beautiful way there. And so, if you have any questions, we're easy to find. Just reach out to us, and we'll help you out. Sometimes people are a bit overwhelmed by the options in the print world, like it used to be, that you had, you can get luster, you can get matte, and that's it.
Yeah,
right? And now you can print on absolutely anything of any size. And sometimes people are a bit overwhelmed and they need a little bit of hand-holding through the process, and we're totally happy to do that.
Great point. Great point.
I love the metal prints, like they print on aluminum. There's something about them. It just like
a little shine or something.
I don't know what it just reminds me of, like the old school slide film.
Yeah.
It just like the old, what was it, the Fujichrome?
Yeah.
Like the old school, it was like your exposure latitude was just a spike. It was like perfect exposure, or white or black. That's it. And it's just like when they come out perfect, they just look, there's something about them.
Yeah.
I just get that feel from the aluminum prints now. They're just wild.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Some of those new options are amazing. Yeah.
Very cool.
Right on, Paul. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. This is a long time coming. We were talking off camera. I cold message Paul Zizka Instagram page maybe last year when we originally started this project. So huge kind of coming to term moments for us. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us today. If you made it this far, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe. Go give Paul a like and subscribe, and grab your prints for the holiday season. We got to give a big shout out to Drink Shaft, our longest and most loyal sponsor. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us. We will be back shortly with more interviews. We're not going to tell you who. You'll have to check in on our social media for that. So make sure you like and subscribe. Like every week. We'll see you next Tuesday.